And also because of our system, we don't need 20,000 people. We don't. We just need like 5,000 core people, right? And with those 5 to 10,000 core people, we have like 2,500 that we would like note are super active. We're gonna bet on you guys. We're gonna take you guys to the promised land across all of our connections, and we're gonna get to a whole nother level here as well. Yeah, I heard Little People announce. Yeah, I saw. Is that official? I saw it got like kind of leaked earlier, July 18th and 12.12 BTC, right? Yeah, that's it's pricey. Um, but that's kind of what this market is doing. I wouldn't do that high if I were Peepo, right? Because we're actually getting a really good comp here, right? So maybe instead of Blur, let's actually start with Magic Eden Ordinals. That's actually what we'll start with today. To give you guys a little bit of more insight on the Ordinals front, and then we'll switch on the back half to this back to Blur here as well. Safort says, I'm in waiting room. Oh, Safort, I'm adding you right now. Sorry, sometimes the waiting room. Here, I'm adding you. You got the redeemed role now, so you could enter in here as well. So there you go, man. You could see some of the other rooms now, and you should be able to see the core chat. So welcome, Safort, and thank you for grabbing a soul here as well, too, man. Sorry, I'm just drinking a little bit of orange juice. So let's just chat about Little Peepo, and let's chat about Inscribed Pepes. Let's spend about 15 minutes talking about ordinals, and I'll talk to you about our strategy as well based off these market metrics. I think it's going to be pretty interesting, as we really want to make sure you guys have a good understanding on this front. So let's kind of dive in. So right now, one of the primary marketplaces at the moment right now for ordinals is Magic Eden. That's right, just magiceden.io/ordinals. Here's a link for that. I'll screen share here so you guys don't have to worry about going to it, but you got the link. And essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to look at what is essentially the assets that are trading and what are getting the most volumes. And usually I'm looking at 24-hour and 7-day windows, right? And what's really interesting, there's some good data here, right? Right now, you're looking at like OMB, which is by far the outlier in volume of attention right now on ordinals. I know they're getting some stupid FUD about them. But like everything I know about OMB, they're generally real. There's of course a little bit more insider holding because there's distribution leverage on the second collection was given to them, but it's a real amount of holders, a real amount of community, and a really active user base that is really trying to support the next wave. And what we're seeing is that we're seeing like a ton of volume because, right, 26 BTC, right, 26 BTC to ETH is a lot, right? And what you're seeing here is that they've done 400 ETH in volume this past week, right? Which is crazy for a very small collection of only 2,200 supply. That's actually really impressive for such a market that is going to be, scaling out here as well. And that's a really good signal of why we want to start paying attention. But again, it's still a very small market. It's still a market that's maturing here at the moment right now. And the interesting thing here is that there's also these other larger collections, but really what you're seeing is most of the projects that are succeeding with high floors and ordinals are like sub 500 supply. That's really where that is. That would be like, Inscribed Pepes, BTC to Gods, Ordinal Punks, whenever BTC Shrooms comes out, whenever Ordinal Gangs comes out. That's historically been how this was initially designed. And even OMB started like that, right? A sub 200 supply as well, too, with their initial Genesis, Blue Eyes, and Red Eyes, and then effectively then expanding now to Green Eyes, which is their 2,000 supply. But this is also where we're seeing some interesting data, and OMB is probably the one that I'd be focusing a lot on, mainly because with OMB, right, what we're starting to see is that they actually priced at a pretty high price point for those who didn't have internal whitelist. Right, the internal whitelist was very profitable. That was, I believe, a 0.09 BTC, if I remember that correctly, 0.08 or 0.09 BTC. And then they did a public, which was at 0.29, if I remember correctly. So hard to remember all these numbers off the top of my head. And initially it was working out, but what we ended up seeing is a lot of the public, right, wasn't able, a lot of the public is already now a little bit underwater. It's not a huge amount of underwater, but again, the vast majority of the collection though is profitable. And this is important for us to note when it comes to the next launch that's coming up, right? Which is, of course, going to be Little Peepos. And Little Peepos is the expanded collection here from Inscribed Pepes, which is one of the strongest ones out there. Again, there's only 69 of them. They're inscribed under 2,500. So very early inscriptions is what they are on their rarity side. And their floor is, really high. It's, at the moment right now, it looks like someone's undercutting at 2. But, it was, usually around a 3 or 4 BTC floor. Remember, even at 2 BTC, this is technically a 30 ETH floor at the moment right now. But remember, it's incredibly small supply, right? It's 69 here at the moment right now on that kind of front here. So what you're realizing here in this kind of structure is that a lot of projects are trying to do these small supplies and then expand to the next side. OMB was very similar numbers, had around a 3 BTC floor and expanded to 2,000 on that front. But what a lot of these people are, I think, making the mistake is that they're trying to use the extrapolation of their existing floor to kind of justify the next mint price. And if I'm in all of these guys' shoes, I actually think that I would be trying to keep the price point entry as low as I possibly can. One of the things I'm actually worried about here is that now Little Peepos is noting here at Little Peepos, what you're seeing is that, it does have a 2.1 BTC floor, but let's also be real. The total volume is only 10 BTC total, right? So these things aren't really exchanging hands that much. So how much actual volume and attention is actually happening here is something that's important to understand. So when we look at the actual understanding of Inscribed Pepes, what you realize is, the last sale was over 15 days ago. So the good thing is this is very locked in users, right? At least with those initial 69 based off that distribution. But it also means there's not a lot of volume. And really the highest sale ever was only 1.9 BTC. So what you're really seeing is that there's actually only been 7 sales total, at least according to Magic Eden. I don't know if there's any other sale data that I could look at in the entire collection. And because of that, I think what's really interesting is that we actually don't know how much the demand for Little Peepos actually is going to be, because the volume here is not what you really would want to see for a collection. On ETH, right, they're going to be way, way less. And you're right, Narbosh, right? That's the thing that's missing here, is that we don't see the data when they were traded on spreadsheet. Because that's the crazy thing about ordinals. The early days of ordinals were actually traded by like 2 guys running spreadsheets for each project, which is kind of insane, right? Because we didn't even have marketplaces at that point, right? These teams had to go rush to make the marketplaces work for ordinals because the technology is just king. And because of that, what we kind of start recognizing really quickly is that a lot of the data is kind of unknown on this front. That's kind of the scary part here at this point, is because a lot of it is offline or on these kind of centralized spreadsheets. But what we also know is that, again, with these smaller supplies, we also don't know how well they distributed or who the actual holders of these assets are. And again, I'm not saying there's any negative FUD here by any means, but this is the unknowns of BTC in general. And this is why you'll see people put FUD on OMB. People just assume, oh, it's all insider wash trading, because, if you actually follow a lot of these early communities, a lot of people thought, if you were early in Solana, there's actually this one project, right, that was like had the highest floor and was a really small supply. And it was called Boogles. Hold on, let me see if I can find him here real quick. And these guys were, hold on, let's see, Boogles, yeah, Boogle Gen 1. These things were only 100 supply. And what's crazy is that Right now, they're sitting at a 2,800 floor on Sol. So what's 2,800 Sol? I don't even know what Sol's trading at anymore. Like 2,800 Sol is not 700. How much? Oh, wow. Sol price? Sol price. What is Sol price? What is this? Oh, it's 27. Yeah, what are they trying to give me? 2,800 times 27.5. Sometimes Google's not great. So this is sitting at a 77,000, 75,000 fiat, right? Price point here at the moment right now when we're looking at these Boogles. And what a lot of people on Sol in the early days was thinking that this was being wash traded, right? Or this was being manipulated with insiders, right? So this is what a lot of people also feel is happening to some of the stuff happening on ordinals as well. When we go back to this, is that because these are all small supplies, a lot of people think that, hey, even inscribed Pepes could be leading to this as well. The one thing that is at least good about inscribed Pepes is that it's got a really large unique owner percentage. It does have true provenance on the rarity of being early inscriptions, but as you can see, they're just on common sats. They're not on any rare sats or anything. So you're purely betting on this, on the inscription number on this initial collection and the art. That's what you're betting on. So what now it looks like, let's go see Twitter. I'll go to my Twitter here real quick. I will go to Inscribe Pepe. And what you'll end up seeing here is that it looks like they made their official announcement, or I don't know where it was officially posted. It's not posted on here. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong spot. But hopefully it looks like they're doing a 2,500 supply at 0.12 BTC. And then the good thing is all little peoples are all on uncommons, which I think is a smart step. And uncommons are pricey. Some uncommons could be as low as $200 per uncommon fiat. Oh, it's only a 404 collection. Oh, okay. Why did I think it was a 2,500 collection? I don't know why. See, this is why it's awesome to have diamond holders who are active and fucking knowledgeable. And shout out to Bruno. Bruno has been like my fucking ordinal whisperer on this stuff, which is really awesome. And he's brought a lot of insight to me. Honestly, he's a huge reason why I've been why we as a tribe have gotten into ordinals as well. So look, we're talking about roughly 400 supply, 0.12 BTC. I don't think that's bad. But if I'm in their shoes, I would have gone a little bit lower. And the real reason for it is that their comp is now OMB, right? At least it's smaller supply, which is good to see. But again, when we're looking at OMB, what we're seeing is that they're even struggling to keep that initial floor, and it's kind of coming down. Again, OMB's green eyes are not on uncommons. They're on block 9 sats, which is different. Uncommon is perceived by many to be significantly more valuable than block 9. But they kind of have the same amount of assets, right, out there, right? So you could actually go to ord.io and you could go to the different elements, right? So right now there's 3,300 block 9 inscriptions at the moment right now. So if you're looking at in total, there's only 3,300 of these in the market. The crazy thing is, just to let you know, when Ronin comes out, we're going to take 10% of this. We're going to inscribe 378 ourselves. So we'll become 10% of all block 9 inscriptions roughly when we end up inscribing everything. But what you could also do is you could go then to how many uncommons have been inscribed. And right now there's around 2,900 as well. So that's one other way of kind of seeing the element of what's actually being rare in regard to how much has actually been leveraged for inscriptions. But in most cases, uncommons are considered to be a little bit more valuable here, mainly because, again, so it's 420 supply. Thanks. Here, we'll click on this link to go to the Little People's Marketplace. And what you'll end up seeing here, hey, they actually look cute. What you'll usually see here on the ordinal side is that uncommons are probably perceived to be higher value because they align with the Casey Rotimers or Rotimers rarity index, which is generally relevantly valuable here as well. So with that, what's kind of really interesting now is the question is is the 0.12 BTC the right price point? And this is kind of the strategy of what I would kind of note here as well, right? So 0.12 BTC is a lot. 0.12 BTC is almost 2 ETH of a mint price, right? That's effectively what you're seeing here. But the question that begs is, where do we think the floor of Little Peepos is going to land, right? That's kind of what it is after this all launches. And right now, what we're seeing is that, okay, with the 2,000 supply with OMB, right, what we're ending up seeing is that, hey, they're right now around like a 0.25, right, BTC. Okay, maybe Little Peepos could outperform this if there's enough buy interest and volume interest and narrative interest. Because it's smaller and it's on uncommons, maybe you could get to 0.3 BTC, right? Is kind of what I would be noting as the target, right? And because 0.3 BTC is the target, the question then begs is, if that's the target floor that you're trying to hit, what should be the right number that you're trying to then price at? So this is our strategy here that I'll share with you guys here as well, right? Is that at 0.12 BTC, I don't think it's insane as a price point by any means. But I think based off where this market is going, my question to you actually, Bruno, here is, what do you think that this will settle at as a floor, right? Because what you're seeing is that it's pretty low volume on the core collection. I'm curious, what would be your target? My target was 0.3. I'm curious to hear your target. Okay, yeah, 0.3-ish. Okay, we're both thinking on that. So I think that's fair. So yeah, Marky's noting 0.25 to 0.3 as well. That's awesome to hear. Okay, so we're kind of all in that range. So if that's your target, let's use 0.3 as a number. This is the way I do analysis on how I would mint my asset here if I'm in their guys' shoes. What I'm trying to do at this point is I would try to take my target floor price and divide it by 4. That's actually the number I would try to get at. So if I'm aiming at a 0.3 established price point, what I would be trying to do is probably minting at 0.075. And the real reason for that is that I want price discovery to be more accessible, but I also want to see velocity out the gates, right? That's actually what I really want to see and really what I want to see scale up. So if I were in Little Peepo's position, I would have probably minted this at 0.075 to 0.09. That's kind of what my intentional target would be with my expected target, right? Because as a second collection, having a 2 to 4x built-in win for whitelist minters is generally the right thing, right? Again, if you could be around 4x, that becomes a way, way stronger entry point as well. And again, we could see this with OMB. OMB's average price point was like essentially, let's say 0.1 BTC when you blend it across all their different entry points. Majority were whitelisted. There was a little bit, on secondary as well here too. But a little bit higher on the public side, of course, as well too, right? But I think what actually OMB did incorrectly is I actually would have priced everything at that smaller price point as well, and maybe even a little bit lower as well. So now the question begs is like, how can you sustain this in this market? And the question now is going to be, and this is what Little Peepo is now going to have to solve, is can they convince people to care about uncommons, right? Can they care about this asset underneath it? Because there's another collection that is actually delivered on this front with their design as a Genesis at very similar price points, and that's Seize Control. So Seize Control is actually inscribed the first rare. And with that rare Satoshi, they then also have a parent-child relationship where everything is on an uncommon here as well. And I think the art's actually really fantastic. I actually love this art. It's a 400 supply, and this is the Genesis collection. The thing they don't have, and I want to be very clear about this, is that their initial inscription numbers are high, right? They did not get under the sub 1000s like, essentially that, of course, Inscribed Pepes did. But same thing with Little Peepos. Little Peepos aren't inscribed at early numbers here at the moment right now. So the question now is going to beg, does Little Peepos have enough narrative and value for their core users and the art of their users to be able to sustain and get people to care about uncommons, right? And if that's the case, then you're going to be able to have a pretty interesting price point at 0.12 at this point, right? But the fear right now is they're going to need to be an outlier for this project to be successful. Uncommons are not the rarest sats. The rarest are literally rare sats. I mean, there's actually there's a few layers above that. There's a mythic as well, but there's only one mythic in the whole world, and I believe that is in Satoshi's wallet. But uncommons are kind of the layer. So what you essentially have is uncommon and then rares. I think at the moment there's been 4 rares found thus far. Oh, sorry, Bruno. Let me change this. Let me give you guys the ability to share images in this one. Let me edit this channel real quick. Give me a second. Here, I'll just give I'll give all of you guys the ability to add images. One sec. Attach files, save changes. Oh, Discord. There you go. Yeah. So oh, here we go. Bruno's got it, right? So there's exactly what it is, right? So it's common to uncommon to rare to epic to legendary to mythic, right? So essentially, right, mythics only exist in Satoshi's wallet. In terms of legendary, none have been found. No epics have been found from what I understand, and only 4 rares have been found thus far, right? Which is kind of crazy. So this is kind of the insane element here, is that on this design and on this structure, you're going to have a bunch more opportunity to be able to capture this and get upside as well here too. So my only fear right now for Little Peepo, based off those numbers you shared, is whether or not they could sustain above a 0.25 BTC. And again, if they can sustain above 0.25 BTC, it's generally solid. But if they can't, right, then this is going to be slipping down to break even, where then again, the acceleration to going under mint is most likely. And again, this is why, this is what Seize Control has run into as a problem to an extent. Even though I actually really like what Seize Control is doing, it's running into the narrative problem is. Little Peepos matter because they're part of one of the, they're the next collection expansion here, right? Of a Genesis collection of inscribed Pepes, which are considered by many a top 10 ordinal collection in the early days with low inscription size and holding a good floor. So that's why we kind of need to care and be conscious about this as well. And this is also how we try to think about it. So I'll give you the math here as well on how we're thinking about it for Ronin. So on the Ronin front, right, what we're also trying to do, because we're a Genesis collection, we're a little bit different than all of these guys. We actually want the Genesis to be so valuable to our initial holder at the moment right now. So as we're kind of doing this kind of new design on this structure, Ronin is going to allow us to kind of build a totally new product experience that can drive real value to the initial holders. Our goal is not to extract max capital. Our goal is to even have a better ratio of return than 4-to-1, right? That's actually what we're trying to do. We're trying to actually get to a ratio, ideally, if we design this correctly, between 5-to-1 or higher. Right? That's actually what we're trying to aim for in this pricing. So what we want to do now here is that as we kind of scale the product experience, we want to find a price point that still is meaningful for, of course, the cost of our inscriptions and our sats here to an extent, and allow a little bit of treasury to exist, right? But I think what's really, really interesting on this front is that the narrative of this market is up for grabs. Because if we really cared about rares and uncommons only, right, Seize Control would be way higher, right? Seize Control would be incredibly higher because this is literally Rodimer rarity index to a T. It literally is, right? And this is kind of why you have to understand is that all of this stuff is arbitrary. I think everything, rarity is an arbitrary thing. That's what most people don't realize, right? Like, all rarity is arbitrary, right? Bitcoin is rare but due to an arbitrary decision of 21 million, it's arbitrary, right? Everything is arbitrary in this kind of design and the structure, right? And the question now begs is, what's the narrative you're going to build? Dude, I mean, you guys buy rarity design from random ass teams on ETH that make it up on the fly. But you just believe, oh, because it's on chain, I guess there's more value. Nah, totally fake, right? All of it is totally fake, right? And this is like the actual big problem here on this kind of design is that everything is arbitrary. So, how do you make stuff not arbitrary? You need to actually have it connect to users. You actually have to have it connect to the community as well. And you have to have something that is greater than just the rare canvas, right? Because that's where the canvas is here at the moment right now on this kind of design. And that's kind of where it's going to be really there. The other amazing thing is I'm just going to start kicking amazing people out who keep asking for relics, which is my favorite thing. Yeah, I just love disconnecting people and just moving them out of this here as well. It's my favorite thing to do. Because again, it's just like not a part of our conversations here, right? Which is just like disappointing. Like, just don't do it. Get out of here. And the real reason in the end, right, that I want to share this with you guys is that you should be looking at Ordinal's data consistently through, right? It's all arbitrary, right? All we have are the patterns that are being presented to us thus far. And our goal is to understand, does this meet or become an outlier to the pattern here as well? Right. And because of this, right, what we're seeing here in this kind of design and this kind of structure is that everything on BTC is arbitrary, right? BTC has rarity for low inscription sizes. BTC has rarity for the type of uncommon or rare sats. BTC has rarity value for block 9 versus block 78 sats, right? You know, and you can see that, right? When you go to, say, Tribe's wallet, right, with this, right, you can see our beautiful Ronin samurais all have these extra little plus ones, right? It's one of the first transactions. This is inscribed on a Satoshi from the first 10 Bitcoin sent from Satoshi to Hal Finney on January 12, 2009. This is also a block 9, meaning these are sats that were mined in block 9, which are the oldest Satoshis in circulation. We also have vintage sats. These are mined in the first 1,000 blocks, right? So we're block 9. If you're in the block 1,000, you'd get that. And this itself was a Satoshi mined by Satoshi Nakamoto himself. And this becomes part of the narrative. It's not the only narrative, right? Because I actually think the coolest part about this narrative is the fucking art, right? I think this art is fucking fire here as well, too, right? And this is kind of where it's going to get really powerful in this kind of structure. But I now need to create more than this, right? We can't just settle on this. And that's kind of why we're building this huge storytelling, right? If you haven't listened, like, you guys should absolutely go to Ronin Ordinal. You should be following this. Very few people know about this at the moment right now. It's slowly starting to make the rounds, which is pretty cool. But if you go there, just listen to the story of Sato and 9 Disciples. You'll actually hear our entire vision of how we're building this, which is really cool in my opinion. And as you can see, you know, we have 9 of these initial ordinals. We're 9 on block 9 sats. We are going to build a much more compelling story, in our opinion, to drive awareness, entertainment, and audience value. And that's going to be one of the areas and pillars that we want to differentiate. Great art, great story, great leverage of the existing rarity, right? And again, we could do some more stuff behind this. And we're doing technology as well. Like, these are all parent-child inscriptions here as well. No, we got to settle it. Ronin's not going to be worth 4 BTC. Ronin's not going to even be worth 1 BTC, to be very honest. Like, that shit is just FUD at this point. And that shit is just like incorrectly thinking at this point right now. But I think we could still be very high in this value. I think if we're actually hitting a stretch goal, Ronin should aim to be higher than the value of diamonds, or similar to the value of diamonds. That's actually what we're trying to do, if you actually want to know our goal sets, right? But I'm not saying we're going to hit that right out of the gates. We have to build towards that, right? And that's like the biggest alpha I can tell you, is that Ronin is designed to be the diamonds of BTC to a certain extent, right? That's actually how we're trying to do it. There's only going to be 10 actual diamonds on BTC, and then Ronin as a collection will be able to expand behind that. So again, trying to get to a 0.3 BTC out of the gate, that's not something that we should expect, guys. When OMB is grabbing majority of the attention and only sustaining at 0.25, it'll take time. But here's why we have other advantages that people don't realize. Advantage number one, we've been building a fucking community forever, and allocation is only going to those who are loyal community members. It starts with 200 diamonds. Half our supply is anchored by diamonds. Our diamonds are the reason why fucking Ronin's gonna work. If you have any belief in what we're doing, it's that we have an unfair advantage with the fact that we have deep alignment with collectors, and we're slowly tricking our diamond holders to care about BTC every week. We give them allocation, we give them upside here as well. And here's the best part is that we're trying to create these to be equivalent to a certain extent to BTC diamonds. And the best part is every diamond gets an allocation to Ronin, right? Which is really powerful as well. So this is kind of where it's going to be really interesting in this kind of design. Again, Ronin's not built for everyone. I want to be very clear, but Ronin does have expansion behind that, which is where a lot of you guys will then have access to it as well. Ronin is not something I would be considering to go after at this point if you don't have liquidity. Like, to be very honest, if you do not have, 2+ ETH of easy liquid, I'm not saying we're minting at that price. I'm not saying that at all. It's like we already said, you already know we're under 0.05 BTC. But you want to understand, right, is that in this market, if you don't have 2 ETH, you shouldn't be worrying about Ronin yet. BTC is right now like mainly a luxury play right now. It's like top of top. You have to be at a slightly different level as this market matures. Yes, over time, it's going to get more accessible. Price entries will be more fair. You're still going to see a few wider collections come out there as well. But in short, right, what you want to understand is this market is incredibly, incredibly early, right? And this is kind of where this market is scaling up here as well on this design. So with that, I just want you guys to recognize is, we'll share all this data with you, right? But again, we need to make sure we keep a steady bar. So what is my goal? I would really like to see, Rodin post-mint holding above a 0.1 BTC, right? If we can do that, I think that's a really good initial outcome. But I think there's opportunities for it to be much higher than that if the story hits. And you guys will see this. Like, dude, we have voice actors. Like, dude, I actually found a dude who's literally has lineage to one of the oldest Japanese samurai families, and he's actually going to do our voice acting for it, which is really crazy. And beyond that, right, you're going to see all this beautiful art. I mean, we've already shown you the PFPs. Even in the last session, we showed you where the Ronin are training inside the volcano, which is just gorgeous. You saw the little dew, like that little dew bubble is going to be, that dewdrop is going to be the start of the story the next week. And we're just going to kind of keep building up here as well in this kind of design and in this kind of structure. So again, if there's an opportunity, we hope to bring more of you guys along the way, because again, we'll allocate to some other key BTC partners, but the primary allocation is going to Tribe. It's going to Tribe Diamonds, right? And our Tribe community. Between those, Diamonds community and our vault, that should probably be, 60% of the supply, if not more. So when you realize where we're going and where we're building, this product experience is going to scale up, but you want to be aware of all of these variables. So follow Little Peepos. All of you should be following Inscribe Pepe just to learn. Whether or not you ever want to fucking buy anything, you should be finding Inscribe Pepes and learning about them as well. Right? Same thing. You should be following Ordinal Maxi Biz, right? Like, you should absolutely be doing that at the moment right now. And following these guys, because these guys are also setting the culture here as well, in this kind of design. And this is kind of where it becomes really, really beautiful here as well. And yeah, Scottish King, I mean, a lot of people don't know what top tier pixel work is, and This isn't bad. I don't know what I'm looking at though. The silhouette's kind of interesting and strange, but it's got something unique, I guess. So what we're now trying to do, right? We're trying to like allow this marketplace to mature, and I think a lot of us are going to probably see upside because we are going to build something slightly different with a locked in community, right? Imagine when we do our live Twitter Spaces events for Ronin. And again, we already did the first one on Saint's account and it had 400 people concurrently on it, right? When we start doing them next week, you're going to see quite a few Ronin events come out. I just got to make sure that I can hit all the timelines and everything like that. We're going to make this very, very exciting. And I just want to bring excitement to Ordinals. So I know we kind of went a little off track there talking more about the Ordinals. Again, I would really follow Seize Control as well. We're going to be hosting Jameson next week. He's going to be interesting. And then if you do want to get some chance of getting, some whitelist, the other one I'd tell you to follow is Trevor, who will also host next week, and he has his Pizza Ninjas coming out. And these are actually a free mint. We don't have allocation yet, but I'm going to trick Trevor to give me allocation on this somehow as well too. So we're going to have a lot of these like projects that are going to be worth kind of keeping an eye out on, because this whole market is going to mature in a new way and we're learning. And then again, just keep coming back to Magic Eden Ordinals. Like, you should build it as a habit, right? You should build it as a habit to see what's happening, right? Like, even for me, like, I want to know on the last 24 hours what's going on. Well, great. Bitfrogs are back to 0.035. I don't know what Nakamoto whales are. This looks like that same whale. Was this Catalina whales or whatever it was called? I forget what they are. Right, yeah, the Catalina whale mixer brand. Oh, this is okay. Wow, Def Jam signed these guys, man. Def Jam's on hard times. And Block 286. Interesting. I don't know why Block 286 matters. Curious what that thinking is there. But as you can see, this is a supply of like 800, and they're holding a 0.025 BTC. And again, remember, people forget, right? That's the other thing you'll have to train your mind on, right? Is that when you look at 0.025 BTC to ETH, you'll actually start realizing, oh shit, this is holding a 0.4 ETH floor at the moment right now. That's not that bad. I'm sure a lot of you would take a 0.4 ETH floor, right, on mints in this marketplace. So even these guys are getting it. And Leo, I'll be very honest, this is like very average stuff in my opinion. But, again, the market will value what it is. They have a built-in audience as well. Taproot Punks is interesting. It's going after the Taproot Wizards. Again, these were kind of like, in a fun little way, playing around with slightly early inscriptions, so sub 50,000, very small supply, right? 100, but 0.147, right? That's solid. 0.147, right? Let's do it again. I want you guys to get comfortable with these numbers because on ETH, you don't get excited. But on BTC, 0.147 is 2.3 ETH, right? 2.3 ETH, guys. Like, that's crazy, right? That's pretty cool that you're seeing this. And that's what you also want to train in your mind, right? Is understanding the numbers as you kind of interact with all these worlds. So let's kind of stop there on the ordinals front and let's switch our perspective back to ETH. And ETH's a little bit more depressing, but let's kind of do it by starting with our favorite thing. What we're seeing here is that, the Azukis are struggling at the moment right now. Again, they started to get a little bit of relief, but the problem here, and this is kind of the insane thing, is Azuki still hasn't made any announcement. Like, we still don't know what they have, which is kind of insane. All we know is like, hey, there was a vote potentially to change backgrounds. It looks like they're not going to change it or anything like that. And what you're also seeing here, right, was at this point in this kind of design is that the only thing they announced is that they're going to find a way to make it up with OGs. And what you're seeing is that in this market, there's not enough buy pressure to maintain interest on this 20,000 supply. So yes, if you look at it in the last like 7 days, it got back up to like 0.13, right? But you're just seeing it's coming right back down very slowly, very surely. And we're now back under 0.88, right? ETH, right? Which means that, again, these are still now down almost, 55% from mint, which is crazy. And we could also see this with the Azuki Elemental Beans themselves. And even the beans themselves are down, 30%, right? 33% here at the moment right now, which is brutal, right? A top tier brand is really struggling here at the moment right now. I still think there's a huge opportunity for Azuki and Azuki Elementals to run. But this is also what you're seeing is like the biggest problem of Wave 1. These guys didn't have enough stuff ready right after mint. Like, they didn't have anything else ready to announce. They were just hoping the art and the existing brand was enough, which I think is a huge mistake for all of these guys. Same thing, who literally copied and pasted the same mistake with really bad execution? It's our boys at Ether, right? Again, Ether capsules. Oh man, they're now down to 0.19, right? Under 0.2 ETH now for the capsules themselves. Again, they were literally trading. I mean, if we go zoom out, they were trading at 1.2 ETH not that long ago, right? Right, that's the crazy thing. It peaked at 1.1 ETH, I remember. Again, some people claim it's wash trading. We'll see where that kind of is. It's now down to 0.2. I mean, again, we're looking at a 85% total decline. But what's crazy is that they were settling at 0.6, right? They were kind of getting this settling. And then Ether makes this hilariously bad announcement that A, they did a snapshot. Never do a snapshot like that. That's dumb as fuck because they just gave everyone a signal to dump because they got in the snapshot. And then the second thing they said, they were giving a one free asset to everyone who was within the snapshot. So again, all those guys are even incentivized to dump even more because, again, they're already going to get their cost bases covered with the next asset that was coming. What happened when they essentially diluted that? It cut the price exactly in half, right? And now what was crazy is that even with their execution, they had some slight art issues, but more importantly, they had their weird royalty decision that they've now walked back. They moved royalties up to 7.5%, then they moved it back down to 3.5%. And the team just unfortunately looks incompetent. That's unfortunately what it is. And now this is now dropped down to 0.2 ETH, right? Which is nuts. And that's kind of what sucks about this is that the team just doesn't know what they're doing because they don't have a vision, right? That's the honest truth. They don't have a vision on their execution. And because of that, they can make a change. Like, bro, I have locked in our vision for royalties months ago, right? Like months ago. The fact that they're making these changes on this is kind of insane. And this is where I don't understand because this is just the capsules. Then when we go to Ether avatars, right, or on this front, right, it's now down to 0.12 once they're revealed. Holy shit, guys. This was literally, right, one of the most hype projects out there, right? And what you're realizing in the end is none of these guys knew what to do with this project. And it sucks, dude. This is actually like I genuinely like the art. I think they're the cleaner ones with less traits are dope. Like this is actually a good looking art. This is good-ish. I'm not a huge fan of everything here, but I actually think what they made the mistake on is they got too noisy. Like this is too noisy right here on this one. But man, this one's sick. Like I almost want to buy this one right now. Here, let me go on to OpenSea. This is fire, right? Like this is actually really good. I love wings too. I'm weirdly all about this kind of style and design. Like, I don't love the scribble eyes per se, right? That's kind of what they ended up doing here in this design. Not sure why they wanted to create that. I guess that's just trait. But this is fire art. Like, this is dope. I would want this if these guys actually represented anything more than the PFP. But that's the problem, is that I don't know if I have faith in anything else that they're doing. So can I just bet on the art alone? And what have we learned in this market? Betting on art alone, right? Always usually is a failing point, right? It really is. And it does suck. I am not rooting for their failure at all. I don't. We actually offered, like, you could talk like on in Rio and Eisen. Wait, one of them, I forget which one, is connected really closely to. I think it was Eisen. Is connected closely um to V, and we've offered them multiple times to help, right? And even one of our Discord devs is their Discord dev as well too, or supporting them as well. And we've offered to help, but they never ever took our help. Like, I'd offer it to for free, and it sucks, right? Because remember, we told you guys there were three signals we had, or four signals we had to watch for, right? We told you this a month ago, right? What were those signals? We told you we have to watch Azuki Min, we have to watch Ethermin, we have to watch Meme Land reveal slash meme coin drop, and we had to watch, the gods. Three of those things have happened. Well, two and a half of those things have happened. And guess what? They've all failed thus far, right? So Azuki failed. Or let's say Azuki fumbled. Ether massively fumbled. Meme, honestly, dude, like, I'm sorry, dude. I still, like, here, if I go to my Twitter, I usually see these things on Twitter where they're like, hey, let's compare anime art, right? Who has the best anime art, right? Anime art, NFT. Let's see if one of these like images come. Uh yeah, here we go. Oh wait, let me find one that shows all of them. Hold on. Anime. Hold on. Instead of saying memes, anime art, meme, ether. I didn't really. I should have saved these ones. I gotta go find these ones that they kind of do their breakdowns. But there's a couple that like do the breakdowns. Which one has the best anime art and stuff. Maybe if I see it on my profile, it's somewhere there, or sorry, my home view. But what you'll end up seeing is like, dude, I still think meme art is super, super low quality. Like, I actually really don't understand how people are still defending meme lands art in regard to all the other designs that you see. And again, art isn't the only thing, and honestly, meme land's never been about the art. But I'm surprised that the team is still trying to claim that it's top art. Ooh, is this the post from it here as well? Oh yeah, which one do you like the best? Like, I honestly think well, actually, I don't think any of these are that great. That's the other kind of crazy thing. I actually love the look of the Ether Corrupted, but they don't make good PFPs, right? That's actually the problem with it. They're too dark, right? They've actually don't have enough of a strong enough silhouette to pull through. I actually don't love the dark Exukis either. Same thing. I think the colors and the contrast aren't great. There are a few really cool ones that are loaded up with like gold traits and stuff. Those are better. And then, dude, I honestly think captains look like they're like the first test, like that someone rejected. Like, I really don't think they're good. But again, this is just my own thoughts, right, on this design. And I think that's like an important thing. Yeah, checkmate. I mean, there's a lot of good anime art there. The question is who could make it as a good PFP? Because like even this one that you shared, checkmate, that's not a good PFP, right? It's too large of the body and torso. It doesn't have a clear silhouette. I don't know why someone has 9 swords. This might be an anime character that I don't know. So this is the other thing that you have to understand is like which of these are actually recognizable for PFPs. And this is where the market's just fumbling. Honestly, the only guy I have like faith left in is the gods. And that's the crazy thing, right? Is like we're now hoping the gods gets to that point of that design and that structure. And this is like the hard thing is that designing, and I was actually listening to Frank and he said some really smart stuff. Frank says some really smart stuff, like at times, like really smart. And he said something around like the idea of making good PFP art is working within constraints. You have to constrain yourself because great PFP art isn't about going as crazy in this, in this design, right? And isn't about trying to put the craziest stuff because again, let's go look at Ether stuff. This is where Ether made the mistakes in my opinion. Ether Avatar. Is it Ether Avatar 2? Weird. Okay. Um let's go look at I don't know, highest last sales. Like, okay, let's see a few of their noisy rare ones. Do they have rarity? Okay, they do have rarity on these. Okay, great. Let's see most rare. Let's go see the most rares here at the moment right now. So I actually think this rare is great. First off, I want to be very honest. This is their actual best piece of their art, without a doubt. It's like cloaks, which is really great, but the silhouette is clean. It's not too noisy. This one is fire, like incredibly well done. I give them a lot of credit on this one. I would love this one, 100%. I will give a best offer of 0.5 ETH. I'll go update that one. But here's where Ether starts losing it, in my opinion. This starts getting too noisy. This is the 12th rarest one. I do not like the toast trait, but hey, each artist has its own. Then there's something here. The hands are here. It's blind. Andy has goggles, and then there's this stuff happening around him with these masks and these ghosts, and then he has this huge jacket. I don't know. It's lost all of its silhouette. It's black on black as well, which is crazy. It starts feeling like, this could be something, but it's not fully there for the number 12th rare. And then you start getting like really crazy, right? Here's the number 24 rare. Again, I actually really love these as individual pieces of art. I actually really weirdly love what does he call these background things? He calls them what? Oni spirits. These Oni spirits are gorgeous, but I really dislike this trait personally. It does not fit this collection. What does he call this? Mask is, it's just like a happy face. It gets so noisy here. You start losing the silhouette. I don't know, man. It just starts feeling like you're devaluing the art, and I just didn't think it was a good design structure. And then you start going like further down the list, and you start realizing like a lot of these get so noisy that you can't use them as a PFP, right? Like even this one, like it's not going to make for a great PFP because this dragon is too big behind it. It looks dope, but then look how much crazy stuff this person has. Then it has also wings on its head. He needed more restraint. That's what I really think this collection needed. It needed significantly more restraint. And I think it would have been significantly stronger. And that's the crazy thing is that like I go look at all these rares and I'm like I'm gonna be very honest, what the fuck is this? Like, honestly, what the fuck is this? This is not even a good PFP. This is just like, oh, I fucked up on layering, right? And that's what I don't understand is that they actually knew this as a design, and it's not a good Medusa. It's not a good snake. I don't understand on the structure, and all you see is like, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Does he have like a weird droopy eye here? What is this thing? I don't even know. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't understand this, and I can't. And then why are there butterflies with this snake? Like, I don't know. It just seems crazy, and I actually think this base character probably does look dope on its own. It just didn't make sense as a collection here as well. And this is again where I think V just went too far. And I think this is where V's struggle came in. Look at this. This one's got Snake and Bubbles. Why do I need Snake and Bubbles? Right? Why do I need both of this? What's going on? What is this? Like, so I bring this all up to you guys, right? Because what a lot of people are trying to do is they're trying to innovate on the PFP, and it's not working anymore. We've kind of saturated where PFPs can go to a certain extent, right? Like, it's kind of nuts that this is the top of this collection because they didn't use restraint. And this is the same thing that I also have to work with our artists on. And our Gokche and team are amazing. I want to be very clear. They are amazing. But same thing, we have to work with restraint. But this is also the beauty about pixel art. It forces you to work with restraint. So, like, let me show you one example of one of our PFPs that was just too over the top. And I needed to like walk it back. Right. So let me grab one of our kings that I thought was too over the top. Let me see if I can find one. Where's that? Where's that massive king? So give me just a second. And I'll show you why restraint is going to be an important thing for all of us to consider here as well in our designs and in our structures too. And again, we're not perfect. I don't, but we are trying to get better each time because we're having these conversations. And I want to also share this with you guys live here as well. So like, like we had this golden crown that was massive. I'm trying to see if I could find that golden crown again. All right, I might have to share it with you guys after this call because it's not. I'm only seeing the good ones after we changed it. I don't know if I have the ones where we fucked it up. Okay, I'll have to find that later. But this restraint becomes like an important thing for us to understand, right? Because the restraint is so hard for great artists who believe that is their biggest value. And this is where we've lost a lot of that restraint here as well. Like, same thing. I actually think this was ruined by three things. I think the toast ruins this, and I think these weird stickers on a face, right, ruins this here as well, right, on this front. Well, it's actually, these are the only two things that ruin it. If you didn't have these two things, I also don't like the nose patch. That's the other thing like I was going to note. I don't like that. If you didn't have those three things, I think this would have been a fire PFP. That's actually a dope background. Like, bro, I don't want a snore strip on my fucking legendary asset, right? Like, I use snore strips at times, right? Why the fuck would I want to put that on my fucking character? Why would I want two small stickers of women? Well, who's ever seen stickers on faces? Like, straight up. And then, like, I don't get this toasted mouth. Is this like an anime thing that I don't understand? And this is kind of where it's crazy. Dude, if it was at least Nelly's little tape under his eye, I'd be cool with that. Like, I'd be way cool with that. But Nelly doesn't put it over his eye like an eye patch, right? Like, Nelly knows what's going on. Like, what the fuck is going on with this, right? And this is what I don't understand, right? Is that no one gave him restraint on these designs. And because of that, you could have done this all on chain, right? You could have said, hey, if it's this rare category, make it clean. Because this is what I want to tell you, and this is the crazy thing about Ether. I almost want to take all their assets and go redo their collection and like redo it with new combinations and stuff. Because here's my favorite thing about Ether. These floors are actually great. This is actually the one thing that could save Ether in the long run, right? Like, I actually think most of these floors are fire. Like, dude, I think this is dope. I don't love the kisses per se on this. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why someone would also tattoo it on his face. He didn't restrain this enough. If it was just the kiss tattoos on the neck, this is pretty fire, right? Again, I would probably remove the scribble eyes, not my style. But this is clean. This is actually good. This is like really, really solid, right? And it did have, oh yeah, even this one, like BK Archive, this one you remade, this is fire, right? Super clean. This is what his collection should have been, right? And he just went too over the top with it. And that's the crazy thing, is that it just feels absurd now, right? As we go further and further into it, it just gets too insane and they don't become good PFPs. I mean, even this right here is one of those crazy stake ones, 0.19. I don't know who the fuck wants this. I really don't. I don't want this. It's cool art, I guess, maybe. But this one's fire. Like, yo, I'd want to like try. Hold on. Where'd it go? Oh, where'd that fire one go? Where'd that chick go? Yeah. Show me this one. I'm not a huge fan of the sewed up mouth trait, but like, yo, if I saw this girl at the club, that's dope. Like, I think it's just clean looking. I like the silhouette with the hat. The art is high quality. Like, yo, but again, I'm not sure why they want the scribble eyes. It just feels like a lot of this stuff just wasn't thought out, and it's sad. But I bring all of this up to you guys because this is the challenge in this market when we're looking at Blur, right? Is like everything looks bad now, right? Everything is getting to a level where you know no one knows what else to do except add more traits. Like even like I know a lot of people were saying like Azuki super bullish elementals. Do you know they did 20,000 traits or whatever the number was? Like bro, half the traits are just changing colors first off. Like let's keep it real. Secondly, it is fucking awful for traders to be able to like find those traits. Like have you ever walked through Azuki elementals? Like I still like the art on most cases. I know I'll probably get fud by saying I don't love the dark spirits. I love the normal spirits. I think are fire. Like I think those are great. But look, let me just walk you guys through Azuki elementals really quickly. I just want to show you these. Yeah, here we go. And then let me show you what this experience is for a trader in this market, which is I think kind of mind-boggling. So it's like, oh yeah, you got a bunch of traits. That's really cool. So you get some variety. All right, which hair do you want? Well, why don't we choose between 459 different hair traits? What the fuck? What the fuck? Just scroll down this. 459 hair traits. Holy shit. I don't know if that's good. I really don't. I don't think that's going to be an element. But this is kind of where you're starting to see is these guys are running out on what else to do outside of add more traits. When in reality, the evolution of that needs to be something way more. And this is where the market's getting trapped. This is where the market's getting stale. This is where the market's getting boring, right? We don't have anything else to offer except saying more traits, more traits, more traits. And this is kind of why new narratives are going to now be needed in the market. Azuki bet it all on art. As we can all tell now, art is not enough. You have to have something significantly more. And that's kind of where this design is going to be something that we want to be conscious of because art isn't sustaining, right? These guys tried to do art with pure ether, didn't work. What we're seeing now is that you have to have other product experiences lined up. And what did we always do in every something is minting strategy? Every something is minting call, right? We always ask, what is the post mint experience? And I'm going to be very honest. Azuki is very much disappointed on the post mint experience. Ether has massively disappointed on the post mint experience. And because of that, we're starting to get struck in this problem where all the leaders don't have anything else to offer. And this is where the market is going to get really, really disappointing overall. And this is kind of where like this whole design is going to be a real large struggle in this market because if there's nothing other than just PFPs, right? Like with more traits and more art, like all this shit is saturated. It really is. And I'll even be honest, like I love our pixel art. I love that we're doing an animated collection, right? And I think there's a little bit more room for discoverability of quality pixel art in this space. But at the same time, we're definitely not resting on just the art. And that's why we show you all the art, right? Like you guys have seen so many of the outputs. And again, we'll show some more generative outputs a little bit later as we get closer to mint on all of our collections. And you'll actually be able to have so much more confidence in what we're doing. And then the bet's going to be, what else can we do behind this? So we already have done comics. We've already done toys. We're already doing other forms of merch here as well. We're consistently scaling the product experience prior to mint. So it's going to be accessible post mint as well. And this is where, again, Blur has essentially kind of turned this market into just shit coins, right? Because when we go back to Blur, what we're effectively seeing here in this market is that there's very little positive movement that's sustainable. We had a little bit of a bounce back last week after everything kind of died. But at the same time, everything else is still down generally in this spot. I think really the only one that's kind of in our outlier at the moment right now is DeGods. And that's because DeGods has speculative stuff coming up. So the gods will probably hold around this floor price, right? And probably might even pump to 10 ETH, right? With the right announcements for the God Season 3. So I'd be paying very close attention to that. But the other thing that I'm also really going to be paying close attention to is what's happening with all these other guys that are old guys, right? So Oni Force has been one of the things that I would say that I'd be very conscious of this collection because it's having some of the craziest price movements I've ever seen that doesn't make sense. I mean, again, just look at this chart over 30 days. It's so all over the place. And Oni really hasn't made any real interesting announcements in the last 30 days. But it's controlled by a lot of old, crypto Twitter and old early school initial OGs of crypto trading. So they're able to price and pump this up in a lot of different directions. But again, what you're seeing is this kind of like huge pumps, right? So even just 2 weeks ago, right? Roughly 2.5 weeks ago, this is sitting at a, what is this at? 1.6, 1.5 ETH floor. And they haven't had any negative announcements. There's been nothing that's come out that's been bad about these guys. The collection's already minted. Star-Lord's working pretty hard and continually says, like, hey, this is the next time to get in. So why the fuck is this thing sinking back down to 1 ETH, right? Is there actual intrinsic value here, or is this getting cycled, right? And this is kind of what you want to understand. Keep an eye out on all this stuff, right? Keep an eye out on all of this stuff here as well, because these are where you're going to see real founders. And again, like, I'll keep it 100% real, right? Like, who's also struggling with this? It's also our partner, unfortunately, right? What we're seeing is Genesis Dimensional Stones are massively struggling to get awareness and attention after their staking. And again, not only is it on Stones, but same with Eve. Slosh and Dimensionals made a massive mistake and didn't have utility or staking utility out. Sucks. Absolutely sucks. Don't get me wrong, it's a pretty good opportunity. Rocket scientist, man, you wanna buy, I'll go get you some buyers and sell you some stones at 0.32 from a few other individuals here as well. But again, this is kind of what you have to understand is that, again, the design here has to be that you as an entity are aware of the market, right? And because of that, essentially Dimensionals missed out. And Sasha's struggling. I'm going to be very honest. Sasha's struggling. He still has a great game. He still has some good IP coming. He still has some big plans. But again, what we're recognizing here as well is that nothing is, guaranteed, right? And, there's only so much we at Tribe can do. We kind of put all the information out there. But it's an incredibly hard market. And yeah, Web3 is just insanely difficult for everyone. And this is kind of what ends up happening is that if you're not top of your game, and it sucks, man. Look at this. Look at this fucking unfortunate sadness, right? Of 1.58 Sash. Man, do you guys realize we helped keep Dimensionals above get back to 1.5 ETH 100 days after post mint in this bear market? Like, that's insane. Like, insane that happened. And then, of course, didn't have a staking feature ready to go after the first unstake. And I don't blame any of these people who took liquidity. I would have 100% took liquidity at this point. And what's worse is that, and this is where, again, Azuki, Ether, Dimensionals are all struggling. They don't have great comms right now, right? They're not built to be live communication entities. Ether's always struggled with comms, to be very honest. Azuki has never been comm oriented, right? They had Demazuki do most of it, but the founders really aren't accessible for these live events and live chats, right? And then same thing, Sosh was doing a great job, but you can now go into his chat. If you're a holder, you'll realize the guy's only sent like 1 or 2 messages in his holder chat in the last 14 days. And that's the hard part, right? Is that when you're not active and you're not there in the trenches with your holders, it goes downhill. So here's the nice part. You at least know we're here, right? You at least know I try to show up fucking almost every day. Almost every weekday you guys hear from me, which is actually nuts. And almost every weekday you hear my voice as well too. And the reason I'm trying to do this here, right, is because I'm trying to show you that this is a minimum requirement for us, right? On this front. Nah, man, I can't do weekends, man. I don't, dude. If I do weekends, I'm gonna collapse at this point, right? And that's kind of the nuts thing. Remember, I have like over 60,000. I don't even remember what the fucking number is. 70,000 messages here as well. And I'm constantly working, and that's the crazy thing is I'm chatting with you guys while I'm in meetings, right? I'm literally having conversations with you guys while I'm delivering work. Even here, I'm like writing emails while I'm on certain calls here with you guys too. But the reason is this is the minimum requirement. Can you talk about a project that's doing a lot right? Something that's up to the standards. I mean, honestly, DeGods is right now probably playing the game best. I think actually Frank understands the game, especially as he sees these fumbles. I think his quality is only going to get higher. Outside of that, the teams that are doing it best are the teams that get out of their fucking way, or the teams that don't have teams. CryptoPunks, right? Because there's no fucking execution risk. But unfortunately, all of Wave 1 is failing, right? I mean, I think honestly, I still think Ray is doing a generally good job. I don't love his art. That's all I'm saying. But, I think he's doing a great job. And yeah, I agree, Mr. CBD. I would put Pudgy in that group as well. I think Pudgy, even though it's not, I don't think Pudgy is ever going to pump to 10 ETH. I really don't think that's going to happen again. But I think it's an amazing, solid 4 ETH here at the moment right now, right? What is Pudgy at? I think it's let's find out. Find out together. Oh, my little Pudgies. Okay, 3.5. This is a solid. I think the problem with Pudgies in the end is that they're not playing any of the speculative stuff anymore, right? Because there's not really any more yield coming back to holders. So I think, again, when Pudgy does do that, you'll get a pump. The question is it sustainable? And the problem is Luca needs to build a business model that scales to Web 2 faster, because that's what he needs to essentially build, right? He has to come back to this kind of design where it's still putting the holders first. And that's a tough thing to do when you're actually trying to generate revenue as a real business, right? And I think that's kind of the larger challenge here in this kind of design of where things are going, and more importantly, where all these pieces are going to go scale as well in this market. But man, it's very few founders that are on the top list, right? There's very few here left, right? It's Pudgy, it's the gods. I mean, you still put Azuki and Meme Land, of course. I don't think Azuki's done a bad job. Azuki actually had the best holder alignment. They just threw it away with setting bad expectations on one mint. And the mint's not bad. If they were just smart, they would have just all Azuki needed to do prior to the mint is we want to give more value to allow people to come into the garden. We're introducing a collection that takes the core spirit of what we've done and offered it to each and every one of you. Additionally, as an OG, not only will you be getting one airdrop, but you'll also be getting a bean that will allow you to supercharge and get greater value to our world of anime coming soon. But with this, you as OG should be excited to bring more people into the market, more people into the design, more people into our world. And this means that we build a greater brand together. If they set the narrative like that, and then maybe change just the art a little bit more, honestly, I would have just made them all kids and all animals. That would have been a 4 ETH floor. If they were just all animals and kids with that kind of narrative, boom, you would have been dope. And then we would all had a clear visual distinction, would have been fire. That's all they needed to do. They didn't. They honestly, they took it for granted, right? And that's kind of the other thing here as well. Glad that you got some liquidity there, Chuko. A lot of the guys who got our allocations, a lot of you guys were able to get liquidity above 1 ETH, 2 ETH, and even some of you got 3 ETH exits on that, which is awesome. And that's the amazing thing, right? Because we're trying to give you guys way, way, way more allocation. Yeah, I mean, I see. So I'll keep it real. Wicklander notes as well. Nathan's available every day. I think Nathan's also one of the hardest working guys. The problem that Nathan's having is he can't tell a story. And also, like, to be very honest, Nathan is burned out. He is essentially operating as a solo founder as well. And he's just at a point of frustration with not enough capital at this point. And it sucks because Kaiju is actually the king on a lot of this stuff. But he's only operating in an echo chamber. And this is actually what's killing the Kaiju brand. If Nathan or Dots was actually truly trying to build for the next era, they'd be doing way more partnerships. They'd be building a way better narrative. They'd have a way better growth identity as well, because he actually is one of the best builders in this market. I still think his fashion is fire. I still think his playable mint experiences are fire. I still think his initial collections are fire. But he's doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that's the problem he's running into, is that he's in his own echo chamber, right? And that's kind of the problem that, honestly, that's what Kaiju's running into, is that when you're in your own echo chamber, you won't break out. And that's the sad part, is that all the work Nathan's putting in, it's not realizing the value to the assets or the values to the holders. But he does have one of the best communities, and shout out to the Kaiju community. They're amazing. They're amazing here. Like, I love Wicklander. I love Khan. You guys are amazing human beings here. But this is also the problem, right? Where showing up isn't just enough. You have to show up and play the game. And that's the hardest part for most of these guys out here. They don't know how to play the game. You guys, and it sucks. And unfortunately, Nathan doesn't know how to play the game. And I talked to Nathan for 3 hours last week, right? We did a long ass call. I told him everything he should do. But at the same time, there's only so much a solo founder can do who's in the trenches for this long. And because of that, it's leading to this problem where I don't think Kaiju's ever go to zero. I don't know if Kaiju's ever see a 1 ETH floor again, right? And that's the problem. And again, the great thing is the Kaiju holders don't need that. They would like that, but they're happy with, it's roughly like 0.35 or so for the Genesis and 0.12 for the babies. It's pretty meaningful here as well in this kind of design. But like, what's kind of cool is that he is hardworking, and I wish more people realize that. Like, the crazy thing is, I would buy Kaijus. I would acquire Kaijus and acquire Nate, and I'd want to make them work and then do all their growth and marketing for them. Like, I guarantee you I could get Kaijus back to a 1 ETH floor, right? But the problem is Nathan doesn't even know how to prioritize that stuff because he's so underwater, right? And this is the hard part when we look at all these designs, right? In this kind of structure, right? So like, here, let's look at Kaiju really quickly, and then we'll wrap up here. And we'll get you guys some relics here as well. And then also starting next week, we'll also have a few double relic events and stuff. They're going to be coming in. Just bear with us. So, looking at 0.12 here right now for babies. And then if we look at the origin here, the Genesis, 0.329 at the moment right now. And the crazy thing is, like, oh, this is sad to see. Someone who bought at 6 is finally getting out here and trying to get exit. But what you're essentially seeing, though, he does have good lock-in. He does have good whale holders. If you look at his floor over time, it just sustains, which is pretty cool, right? Like, it drips a little bit. This is probably heading to a sub 0.1 ETH floor relatively soon. But like, the challenge ends up being is that you have to be more than just be active. You have to be willing to write a narrative as well too, right? And that's the hardest part here. And I told this directly to Nate, right? I was straight up told him, I was like, you suck at storytelling. And he's like, I know. I'm like, you suck at growth. He's like, I know. So like, why aren't you solving that? He's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, okay, that's interesting. And like, just, to be 100%, he prioritized the wrong partners and the wrong team members initially. So he just has a lot of stuff to come out. And the worst part is, right, for him, is that he didn't cash extract. He wasn't evil. And that's actually the thing that hurts Nathan the most. He wasn't evil, which means that he never took too much capital out here as well, right? And that's kind of the unfortunate part, because it means that he's working with way less of a treasury than 99% of people here as well. So this is kind of the problem generally, right? Is that in the end, you know, you need to build really good allies, right? You need to really, really, be able to get into this kind of design and this kind of structure. But again, the biggest problem here with any of these founders in this market is you have to honestly be willing to understand how to play the game. And exactly, dude, Lemon Boy hits it right on the head. I know the AetherOrc founders super well. And I was just telling him, like, you don't have to cash extract, but you have to monetize. They're like, oh, we don't believe in monetization. I'm like, well, fuck. Okay, well, I'll see you guys later then, because I don't know how you're going to survive as a business, right? And they straight up went to zero, right? And they could have easily survived by doing another new paid mint, which wasn't massively cash extracted, but they chose not to. And they weren't great at business. Like, to be very honest, I like the guys a lot. They weren't business savvy on that front, and they're literally one of the best on-chain game builders in the space. And they went to zero. They were literally built a lot of these initial assets, and it sucks. I also owned a bunch of EtherOrcs at times too, and it sucks. Yeah, Fates, dude. We worked with Fates forever. Dude, it was crazy. I had a long call with Fates Forever, and I was like, hey, you guys realize, like, no one wants to play games. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, this market of Web3 traders don't give a fuck about your game. They're like, wait, what do you mean? I'm like, they just want your asset to go up. So you have to play a game for the speculators. And they're like, we don't want to do that. I'm like, that's fine if you don't want to do it, but then you shouldn't be fucking selling Web3 assets to these people, or, minting Web3 assets to these people. They're like, oh, okay. So I was like, well, here's how you could do it if you want to play the Web3 game. I gave them a whole business model of how to play the Web3 game, right? And then essentially, right, they were like, oh, we don't want to do this game. I'm like, then you should probably not be doing this game overall. And they realized that. And at least shout out to Fates, right? Like, shout out to Fates. They gave money back to their fucking holders who paid for shit. Like, they straight up went out, right, into the market and realized, like, you know what, we don't want to do it. So Fates Forever straight up exited it by paying back their holders, which is kind of insane. No project does that. So give them at least the credibility to know where they stand, right? And this becomes like the overall challenge now. Yeah, dude, Tribe's vault, one of our vaults has like 20 pilots and 20 pods and 20 asteroids. Just sitting there. They'll be worth nothing now, right? Because we were just trying to help them, but at least give them credit. They exited at that same time as well, too. Yeah, Dimensionals does fall into this, but this is the reason why Dimensionals is valued. They played the collectible game. This is why Dimensionals could have worked and can still work, right? Because what they're doing is that they're building a product experience where you can own the assets and still be passive. And that's where it gets really interesting. And then the game that is being designed is actually built for Web 2 guys, which I think is really solid as well. And it could go to PC and it could go to mobile. But it's not easy, right? And exactly as you know, none of us actually that are speculative traders, right, are going to be super bullish to play the game, even though I still think the game is dope, right? And I actually will be looking forward to play it, but I'm going to try playing it like once or twice, right? And have fun with it. But I'm not looking to like, oh, I'm going to play this game every day, because none of us have time for that. So this is Dimensionals' challenge, is can they cross that? We're not sure, right? Because Dimensionals has lost the thread right now of building for speculative users. They were playing the best speculative play, right? And their IP is great. Dude, their comic experience is great. Exactly. Reishi notes it, man. Like, dude, man, I've already seen the animated 2-minute first video. It's good, dude. It looks like a tier 1 fucking animated cartoon that I would love to actually want. And the game is fun if you like roguelite stuff. It's a cool game. And it's beautiful, right? But they lost the narrative over the speculators. And now what you're going to see is Dimensionals is probably going to start optimizing for Web 2 users now, right? And that's kind of the thing. And yeah, Frenchie knows this. ICO Beast knows this. All Diamonds know this. If they just fucking listen to us, right? If they just listen to us. We told them about everything. They listened to us for the first fucking 100 days. Do you guys realize that, Sasha is going to be doing way higher supplies, was going to do way higher stuff out there, was going to totally do a total different design until Tribe came in. Like, we had to do all of this stuff here as well. Dude, he initially thought he was going to do 10,000 Eves, right? Like, that's how much he was thinking initially, which would have killed his project. I mean, it doesn't really matter anymore now until he recovers. But like, this is kind of the nuts thing, and we shared it. We did multiple calls, and they didn't prioritize it. So there's only so much we can do, right? It's the same thing I'm telling you, dude. I've reached out to Ether so many times, right? They didn't want to respond. I can't do anything to help them here as well, right? And I appreciate that, McDonald's. Yeah, I thought their Genesis launch was perfect. We allocated perfectly. We brought amazing attention. I mean, dude, like, a lot of you are asking what happened to Sasha and Saint. Sasha just stopped showing up. He didn't have time for them, which was one of the most important things he needed. Dude, I had to literally force Sasha to show up for one of the last Sasha and Saints we did to talk about Eve, because the guy was going to go mint Eve without anyone knowing about it. Right. And this is kind of why it sucks, because he lost the thread too. He stopped engaging, unfortunately. And, I'm very open about this stuff because I protect our community at all costs. Sasha stopped prioritizing the Web3 conversations and narratives. Right. And because of that, the floor reflects that. Right. And that's kind of the unfortunate thing. So this is where we kind of all want to learn. Right here, I'll show you the dimensionals floor here really quickly, and then I will get you guys a relic here as well. It's rough. Like, honestly, like, we had a few of our own team members, we staked our stones for 90 days for a couple of the stones we had for our team members. And it sucks because a lot of them could have gotten out at 1.5, right? But they only can now get out between 0.3 and 0.5, right, at this point. And it sucks, right? And in this kind of structure. Yeah, and I don't think Sasha is lazy. I just think Sasha doesn't have the priority and the bandwidth to do it. He needed another Web3. He honestly needed to hire Tribe and Diamonds to run the Web3 community. We should actually be running his entire Discord and his entire Web3 community experience. Put Frenchie, ICO Beast, and me in charge, and throw Mirror in there. We could absolutely kill it, right, on this front. But what you're seeing is that, dude, the first waves of markets aren't ready to go, right? This first wave of builders have all disappointed us, guys, and it sucks. I think there's still going to be a wave 2. I don't think the wave 2 is going to see these peaks of 100 ETH assets again. I don't even think we see 20 ETH assets again. But I do think that you'll see great teams build assets between that 2 to 10 ETH of value. That's the range and the window you want. Really, the sweet spot is 2 to 5 ETH worth of value. That's really what you want to be, at least on the ETH side. I think BTC, you actually are going to see some 10, 20, 30 ETH plays, right? I actually think that is possible. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to look like. I mean, OMB Genesis is already in there. Ordinal Punks is in there. BTC to Gods is technically like a 15 to 20 ETH floor, right? Like roughly, almost 20 ETH floor. So you're seeing that these exist. The question now begs is who's going to sustain that? And that's the hard part, right? Like, it's a tough market. And I hope that we see something cool, right? And I hope we get a period of recovery. So I tell you guys this as well. Why does this all matter that I share all of this? Is stop spending your relics. Stop it. Stop spending them all. Go somewhere else and stop spending your relics and save. Just stack up. The only relics that are even worth spending on right now is if you want to get the last few oath, that may be interesting. But also, right, Reapers is really the only one. But honestly, all the Reapers are now kind of gone for this initial vote. I wouldn't be spending on that. Really, all I would be spending on is, can I get a good Weebox at a good price point and Jungle at a good price point? 2 free mints with small supplies. Like, if you thought we did a great job with our Genesis collections with Sasha and Dimensionals, expect us to be in that same category with Jungle. Zhao listens. Zhao has a diamond. He's sitting in the chat. He's killing it here as well. This is kind of where this all gets really valuable, and you just keep collecting. keep getting this knowledge. I know most people don't value knowledge in a fucking market like this. I actually think this is the smartest shit I can give you guys at this point, right? This awareness of where this is going and reward you with relics, and then hey, you'll find stuff. And guys, we have more allo coming. We're working with a lot of people. We're not really missing a lot of stuff. I think the only thing I think we're gonna miss is Genkai. We fucked up and didn't reach out to CyberCons early enough. I did make a mistake there. We should have done that because they are a partner. We just fucking forgot. But this is kind of where we go and where we build. And yeah, guys, there's 400 people here almost. And this is just a soul gated. This doesn't include anyone else from the market, which is nuts. That's how loyal this fucking audience is, guys, right? And for all of you being here, I want to say huge thank you, right? Just again, huge thank you. I appreciate it. This weekend, right, will be generally silent. I'm actually traveling this weekend. So I won't be available at all. But you'll also see some slight shifts in schedule starting next week because I will be in Europe. So I will have to change certain time slots here, but most of our time slots should work, which is great. Which will be pretty exciting here as well. So guys, with that, I'm gonna let you all go. But before we do that, let's go to the secret chamber. Da-da-da-da-da. Where's the secret chamber? There it is. All right. What the fuck did I call this relic? Get blurred. Oh yeah, this is recovery. We're kind of in a recovery period. And then period 31 seconds. All right. The password is 20743. The password is 20743.